three short stories come to mind if you have time. One was a wedding gig. That's pretty funny. It was with a this big band jazz singer in town. We booked a wedding gig, and it was in LA, and so we he told me, by the way, just me being the piano player, I'm gonna have to learn these two songs to play with this Broadway singer who's a guest of the wedding, and she's gonna sit in. I'm not gonna mention her name, but she is kind of a famous Broadway singer. And if you know that, I didn't know of her, but after researching her, realized she was pretty famous. Anyways, but there's a limited amount of time. We didn't have time to get together for rehearsal, so we booked a rehearsal. She sent me the music to learn, and she told me, like, by the way, like, this music, it's kind of put together. My music director copy and pasted two different charts. It's a medley of two songs with two different keys. And I really, looking back to it, I should have typed up my own chart, but I just thought, whatever, it's a wedding gig. Who cares? So then we did a Zoom rehearsal, which is already kind of like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Her only day off was she was down at Disneyland with her family. Her husband and baby were sleeping in the hotel. So during our Zoom rehearsal, she sat in the hallway of the hotel. So there's people going by. We're trying to play together as best we could through Zoom with the delay. So whatever, it was like, I think I know it, whatever, we'll figure it out at the wedding tomorrow night. And then we do she comes on stage. There's a big band behind me. So there's like 10 musicians sitting behind me. There's about 150 people in the audience. And we play the song. She's also holding her baby while she's performing, which is kind of cute, but it's also distracting her. And I can already tell she's already nervous. She's getting distracted. And then she like skips a part of the song. Like she skips a part of the verse. And I'm trying to follow. And I think I'm like using my ear pretty good. But then, like I said, the medley of the two songs, the second song is in kind of a different key. She starts to get to that. Long story short, it folded pretty bad. We ended up we stopped. She made a joke about it. We tried to start again. We could not figure out the same place. We just kind of said, okay, thank you. And then she walked off the stage, and it was pretty, that was a pretty rough one. But that one stands. And then her and I eventually laughed about it at the end of the night. Two other really quick ones related to the B3 organ. One, we played one of my organ trios called Rump Roller Organ Trio, which is a really fun band. We actually have some new music coming out soon. But we played a wedding gig. This was a few years ago, and we didn't know this until we showed up, and now we've added this to our rider when we do gigs. But we showed up, and there was a generator powering everything, and a Hammond B3 cannot run on a generator. I learned this after this gig. So basically we plugged everything in, and the organ was like down a whole step, but also kind of wavy. So basically just the guitarist couldn't plug in or couldn't play along because it was too out of key, out of tune. So it was basically just me and the drummer just kind of jamming. And really no one noticed the difference. One guy walked up to us and said, man, you guys sound like the funkiest Dodgers game or something like that. It was
because the organ was sounding like a baseball
organ. Yeah, he's like, you guys sound like the funkiest Dodgers game or something like that. It was really funny.
Oh, that's funny.
And the last thing, which has to do with Ty again. So long story short, Ty's a few years older than me, or however many years older than me, and he moved to town from Seattle a few years before I did, and he was gigging. He was like, for a while, he was the B3 player before me, and then I slowly started to sub for him, and then really shortly after that, he got the gig with Carey, and it was like perfect timing for both of us. He got to go out with that, and I got to sub for all of his in-town gigs, and that really jump-started, on top of already being like one of the B3 players, one of the only B3 players in town along with Ty. It's like now I got all his gigs too. It really helped both of us. And on top of that, I didn't have my own organ yet. He left his B3 in a van in a parking lot at a club in Hollywood. I can't remember if he mentioned it on this podcast, called Sassafras Saloon. He played there every Monday night with Rump Roller, which eventually kind of turned into my gig. So his B3 was in his van in this parking lot, and I could just go and grab it whenever I wanted. So I had a pretty big gig in downtown LA, which is about 20 to 30 minutes from Hollywood. And it was a huge event. And so I went to get his van. Wait, I'm jumping things around. I just got my organ. This is exactly a week after I bought my first B3 and my minivan. So I'm going to that gig, but knowing that Ty's organ is in this parking lot. I went to the gig in downtown. I set everything up, plugged it in, and right away I could hear something is weird. You just know when you turn on like an old car or something, that first ignition, something is off. So I turn it on. Not even a full minute later, black smoke is shooting out of the B3. So I quickly turned it off. I called my organ technician, Bill Axman. He said, "Yeah, don't do anything else. Leave it turned off. You're gonna have to bring it to me." And so I thought, oh, this is a really big gig. I need this. I need an organ. So I knew, okay, Ty's organ is at this club in Hollywood, and I've got the keys. Let me drive over there. I've got time. So I drive over there. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna grab his van and drive it back because I don't have time to swap. So I jump in his car, and of course his battery is dead. So now I have to unload his organ and everything, put it into my car, and move my Leslie, put it into his car, run back to the gig. Luckily, I plugged it all in. Everything worked good for the gig, and then I dealt with everything later on.